All right. We're back. And you know what's funny was getting to level 20 unpromoted took more time than it did to actually do it promoted. It was weird. It was the weirdest fucking thing because for as much time as I spent trying to get him to level 20, getting him to 20 again went twice as quickly. However, with that said, I will say the last two characters were the hardest to level. The last three characters were the hardest to level. Excuse me. But yes, now we have everyone promoted at level 20. But like every Shining Force Gaiden game that we've done so far, we actually have to do an in-battle analysis. Because one character doesn't come back with us, so... pretty much what it is. Let me get my writing, my documentation out here that we have for everybody unpromoted. I'm changing it up a little bit, trying to get everything ready for Shining Force 2. How I want to structure my findings, and do the best that I can to make this work. But yeah, so I have all the characters before promotion, except for the ones that we didn't have yet. So we're gonna write them in. And who did we not have? We did not have Ridian, Kojiro. Oh, and really quick, guys, by the way, this is massive spoiler alerts to the nth degree. If you don't want Final Fantasy Final Conflict ruined, don't watch this video. Go play the game yourself and then come back and check out this video later, because just the character's presence in this game is a massive spoiler alert for the game itself. So with that said, we've got Kojiro, we have Max, and there's one other character that doesn't appear in this grouping, and that's correct, that is Max from Shining Force 1. There's a character missing from here that's automatically applied to the battle, the final two battles. So that character is actually also a big story, a big spoiler alert too. So so what we want to do this time around is we're going to add we need to add Max, we need to add the character in that battle, and we're going to compare Ian as well to those three, because they're actually the only class that is really identical. So let me just break that down. A secret character that's not really a secret to get because he's automatic, but the automatic character that's not here, Max and Ian are all going to be compared to each other because they're really the best comparisons. We're going to actually combine a character. We're going to take Ridian, who's a gladiator, and Paige, who's a gladiator, and compare and use Kojiro and compare the three of them together. The only reason is Kojiro doesn't really have a parallel to compare to, unless you want to compare him to characters that have really good attacks as well as really good magic, right? They, Max and Ian at this point can cast Bolt 3. So actually, I think even Max can do Bolt 4. I think. Are we in stats? No. Help stats. I don't think. Yeah, no, he's got Bolt 3. So, that's not fair for Kojiro to have to go up against them. And he's got more in common with movement, strength, and these variations. So we'll compare them. But we'll compare Kojiro to Ridian, who's a gladiator, and Paige, who's our starting gladiator. Now, what was interesting in this study is, number one, there's not, like many of the other Shining Force Gaiden games, the Game Gear games, there's not a huge cast of characters to really pick and choose from. So, there's only one archer. This is where I say you have to weigh the archer to a group of characters. Somebody's got to be able to be compared, and because of that, Sonnet's going to be given light comparisons to our ninjas, because our ninjas attack with ranged attacks that also work up close, but the problem is that she kind of gets outclassed, but she has a feature, and that's her long range. So there's going to be some variables and some things we really need to consider. But let's go ahead into the final battle. the final set of battles and take a look at the other character that's missing here. Because obviously he's a character that only appears in battle. And let's get it to Ian's turn, that way we can egress out of this battle once we get the stats we need from the the specialty character. Okay, so this specialty character, strangely enough's name is Odd-Eye. That's right, it is Odd-Eye from Shining Force 2. So you can see how they were trying to get all the characters in there. Alright, let me put a line here, and we'll get his stats and info right now. He joins at level 12, so I know that. So I'm going to just put that on as a side note. But at level 20, his attack, his HP is 47. His MP is 34. But we'll talk about his MP in a moment. His attack is 62. Defense 54. Agility 27. His movement 6. And he actually has a specialty attack called the Laser Eye, which kicks in kind of at random, much like Kiwi's breath attack. Okay, so we know that information. We can now go ahead and warp out of this battle. And for the sake of testing purposes, I have removed the Chaos Breaker from Ian to get a more fair statistical analysis. Though Ian, I think, is the only character who can equip the Chaos Breaker. We'll double check, but I'm pretty sure he's the only one that can do that. Chaos Breaker. Oh no, Max can equip it too. So, okay, so that's interesting, but not relevant to our study, because you only get one. So let's go into stats here, and let's go ahead and take now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take a look at comparing. We're gonna compare Odd-Eye to Max and Ian. Or we could actually compare him to... No, he shares more in common with Max and Ian. So let's take a look here. So let's go ahead and do Max really quick, since we got Max now. Now this is as promoted. These characters come promoted. And I think there was a trend that was going on that we noticed during that period of time. So his HP is 52, MP 31, attack 68, defense 46, and agility is 25 with a movement of 6. Now let's look at Ian. Now I'm not going to put Egress down because, yeah, Max has Egress as well. But, okay, so Max has Bolt 3. And I'm not going to even write down Egress because that doesn't matter. Not really, not in the grand scheme of things. Let's take a look at Ian here, who has Bolt 4, surprisingly. So Ian, his HP is 65, which so far is the best of the three. MP is 31, so it's the same as Max. Attack is 78, and remember, he has the right sword on. So he has the critical sword on, not the Chaos Breaker. 52 defense, 27 agility, and 6 agility, or 6 movement rather, and Bolt 4. Alright, so between the two heroes and Odd-Eye, now I might compare Odd-Eye to Kojiro, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to. Number one, you don't get Max and Odd-Eye till the final 2 battles, and those 2 battles are back-to-back battles. So if you don't beat the game if you don't, you go right from one battle into the next battle. So that really makes them very irrelevant. So they lose a point, I would say, each for that, because they come so late in the game. Now they are promoted level 12. And I think Max had Bolt 2 at the time. Odd-Eye, though he has MP, he has not learned a single spell. And I don't believe he has any programmed into the game. So it was I think it's kind of an oversight, or they copy-pasted the stats of a different character or something. They did something. But Odd-Eye does have the Laser Eye attack, which kicks in on a single target randomly, and does about 30 some odd damage to some of the stronger enemies of the game. 31 damage, bypassing defense. It seems to be a consistent number going across the board. So that's an interesting thing that they facilitated with him. But if we look at their stats, Odd Eye's HP is the lowest at 47, Max at 52, and then Ian's at 65. His MP is nominal, but and we know Ian and Max have the same MP. His attack is 62, which is still worse than Max, whereas Max's attack is at 68. And then obviously Ian's is 10 points higher than that at 78. Then we have defense here. So Odd Eye's defense is 54 versus is actually his defense is better than Max's. Max's defense is 46. So that's 9 point, nope, 54. Oh, that's a lot better, actually. To get to 54, that's 8 points difference. So we have an 8-point discrepancy. So Odd Eye's defense is a lot better. Sorry about that. There's somebody at my door. It was a package. I like packages. Anyway, what was I saying here? I got lost in train of thought here. Oh yeah, so Odd Eye has better defense, but he has lower HP, but not by much. It's a 5 or 4. No, it's 5. Agility. Odd Eye is tied with Ian, but here's the thing: is Odd Eye doesn't have Bolt. He has no magic whatsoever, so he's easily the worst of the 3 hero types. So there's that aspect of it too. I mean, you could give him weaponry, but he comes with the best sword possible. He's just not a good character. He's just overall not a good character. But the perk that he gets, you get a +1 to, is that you get to use him in the final battle and he doesn't take up a character slot. So Odd Eye's cool, but he's not as good as Max. Max is good because he comes with Bolt 3, but he is completely outclassed by Ian. So there's a big deal there, is that Ian outclasses Max almost in pretty much everything. Ian has 65 HP. We'll go back now and start actually taking a look here, because we can. Ian has 65 HP versus Max's 52. So that's already a huge HP discrepancy of 13. Their MP is identical. Ian's attack is 10 points stronger than Max's. His defense is 6 points better than Max's as well, and his agility is 2 points better. Ian outclasses Max in every category, and I'm not going to tell you what the story behind Max. I'll wait for when I do. I will do a Let's Play of Shining Force Final Conflict. I don't think I've actually done it. It's one of the few that I haven't done yet. So that gives me more reason to do it, because it actually connects all of the Shining games kind of together up till Shining Force 2. Anyway, so Ian is the clear winner, and best part about him is you have to have him in your party. So he's a big bonus. Alright, let's do knights, because there's only 2. And this was actually a surprise, because I was very sure at the time that Mead was going to get kind of thrown off to the side, but that didn't end up happening quite as badly as I thought. Sylvia had a distinct, I want to say a distinct advantage. No, wait a minute. No, they were just slightly close. They were very close, and they're still very close. I take that back. 57 HP for Mead, 0 MP, obviously 73 attack, defense is 52, agility is 25, and movement is 7 still. Okay, and then for Sylvia, we've got 63 HP, so there's a big HP discrepancy there compared to where they were before. 74 attack, still only a point difference. This time, though, Sylvia's 1 point better than Mead, where Mead was 1 point better than Sylvia. 49 defense, that's a moderate discrepancy there. She's a little faster, and that. So the question is Sylvia wins in speed because it's 2 better. 1 point for Mead at 52 defense over 49, and Sylvia has higher HP. The attacks are nominal, they're not that relevant. And obviously their movement is the same. So Sylvia actually snakes it statistically by 1 point. She just barely snakes it. So that's an interesting find, is that Sylvia is still slightly better than Mead. But it's ever so slightly, and again, this is just one study. I would have to play this game multiple times doing this practice to see if it remains consistent. Alright, let's look at our Birdmen. So we had a massive discrepancy before promotion, with Kiddo just being 55 attack versus Julia's 40 prior to promotion, and everything else was rather close. But let's see how they did this time. We're going to go with Julia first. Let's take a look at Julia here. Her HP is 60, so a big HP growth. Her attack is 0 MP, obviously. 72 attack, that's not too bad. It's up there with the Knights, with the Paladins. 51 defense, up there with the Paladins. Agility 27, movement 6. And she flies. So that's actually interesting, because they don't have ranged attacks, but they're flying, and they take damage about as well as both Knights do. So that's Julia in a nutshell. Now let's go to what everybody's favorite Birdman in this game. Let's go check out what Kiddo is now at max level here. 52 HP, 0 MP, oh my god, 88 attack, defense 48. Well, that just kind of brings everything down a bit, don't it? And has fly. So, Julia has 2 agility better, has 3 points of defense better, has better HP, but that attack. Kiddo has 88 to attack. Hey, Gil. Oh, man, Gil, your emotes. Whoa. Hamana. So, here's one of the few things that you have to figure out, is that Julia statistically, on average, is better. Now, that's not a fair discrepancy, per se. Kiddo's attack, without any boosts whatsoever, just his natural attack, is 16 points higher than Julia. So for every 2 points, what does that mean? You know, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, that's 7-point discrepancy over. So it's not just winning in a couple of statistics, it's a 7 valued point statistic. If it takes 2 points to get a if we're gonna argue semantics here, and Julia gets 1 point for being 2 rounded down stats higher than who you're comparing the characters to, that's worth a point, right? HP, just having more HP is just going to be worth 1 point, unless it's like double. But in this case, you have such a stat discrepancy in attack. The 88 attack is just beastly, to the point where Kiddo has one shot at enemies, without having to crit. So 7 points minus 1, 2, 3. That's a 5-point advantage versus Kiddo. So here's what I'm going to say, is that most people would argue Kiddo is better, and there's a good argument for that. Julia is more versatile. Kiddo is kind of a glass cannon. He has 8 less HP. His defense is 3 points lower. He's not as fast, but only slightly. So I think the argument... Gil, you and your emotes... I love them. Anyway, I would say Kiddo is he's not a legit glass cannon, but he's more glass cannon-like than Julia. Julia's a bit more standard resistance. She would handle magic and breath attacks a little better, but Kiddo just hits like a truck. So I would say pick your poison, but I am kind of in line with the people who like Kiddo a bit more. I think Kiddo is, in my opinion, the better bird battler. But that's up for that. There's a lot you could debate with that at a tactical level. I won't get into it much further, but that's really the gist of it. Let's take a look now at our gladiators, and we'll add Kujiro to that group as well. So let's look at Paige here. Now, Paige is HP. My pen keeps acting up. His HP is 54. MP is 0. His attack is a whopping 80. His defense is 59, which is actually the highest so far by a large margin. His agility is 27, and his movement is 5. Now we're going to compare him directly to Rydian, who's probably the weakest link in this game as far as like your expectations of what they should be. So Rydian, his HP is 46. His MP is 0. His defense is 42. His agility is abysmal 19, making him one of the slowest characters. And his movement is 5. I hate to break it to you, but did I forget his attack? I forgot to write his attack now. 69. Giggity. So compared to, now they have the same gear on. Great Axe. Great Axe. Rydian is just outclassed by Paige in every way, shape, and form. Rydian is, his HP is 46 versus Paige is 54. That's, you know, that's 12-point difference. No. 8-point difference. So that's a big discrepancy. The attack is just abysmal. 69 to 80. Paige is vastly superior in offense. 59 to 42. Yeah, again, Paige is a freaking beast. Agility 27 versus Rydian's agility at 19 is abysmal. Rydian is probably statistically the worst character in the game right now, I would argue. Oh, there was a character we didn't add to compare to Kiddo and Julia. We'll do that after we do these two. So yeah, Rydian is garbage. He's probably the worst character by far, and unless the stat gains are vastly different in another playthrough, he's probably the worst character in the game. So let's go to Erik, the Dragon Soldier. Now he's going to get compared to the Birdman. That's who I forgot to compare. So let's do Erik up here. Or do I have Erik somewhere else? Well, I do have him down there, but we'll do Erik up here. Alright, his HP is 55, 0 MP, 68 attack, 50 defense, agility 23, and his movement is 5. So keep this in mind. He has flying, but he can't fly over mountains. Kind of like Kiwi. He's a monster in that regard, which I found to be somewhat interesting. His HP is, where's Kiddo here? Is higher than Kiddo's. His attack is 68, so it's actually worse than Julia's. His defense is 50, so it's on par with Julia. His agility is 23, which is low, and his movement is 5. Erik is just outclassed by Kiddo and Julia in every way. Now, he came pre-promoted, and I was hoping that he'd do a little better, and he actually never did. So that was a little disappointing. But yeah, he really is a direct comparison. He doesn't seem to have any stat bonuses that I noticed. The only thing I didn't check, and I could double check it before we finish, is if he's a true flyer. Does he get land benefits even though he flies? If he actually gets those benefits, it makes him a little better. But even still, he's not pumping out the damage that Kiddo and Julia are. And he's not taking the damage as well either, as Julia still kind of outclasses Erik. By the way, I think Julia was a fan-disliked character. So this actually is an interesting thing. So Erik's not that good. Erik, unfortunately, is not that great. Though early game, when you get him, he's actually not bad. Alright, so we compared Rydian and Paige. Paige just decimated Rydian. So let's look at Kojiro, because Kojiro is going to be interesting. Where do I want to put Kojiro? On my sheet here. We will put Kojiro where Rydian is here, next to Rydian. So, Kojiro. Alright, his HP is 48 with 0 MP. His attack is 82. His defense is 53. Agility 21. Movement 5. Alright, so already his HP is better than Rydian. His attack is actually better by 2 points over Paige. However, Paige has only 6 points better HP, so interesting. He actually beats Paige in that regard too. And he doesn't get another weapon that I recollect. So the only weapon he gets is the Kijiro Katana. So that's it. 53 defense, he loses to Rydian. Rydian gets a bonus there at 59. However, Paige. He beats Paige at 59. He just decimates Rydian defensively as well, so that's kind of funny. And then 21 agility, which still makes him slower than Paige, so Paige is still faster. So ultimately, Paige loses a point in attack and to HP, because it's a 4-point difference. Actually, that's not a point loss. It has to be 5. We said that earlier. 5 points is considered a significant HP difference. So Kojiro only really wins in attack. So if you need 2 beefy frontline fighters, Kojiro is not a bad option. The negative, and I will subtract a point from Kojiro, is you get him 3rd to last battle of the game. So, and he comes in at level 10 promoted, so he's not very strong when he comes in. I think his attack was around 60 when he joined. So if that's higher than everybody else you have, that's great. He wasn't doing it for me early on, and he was really slow. And he is slow. His agility at 21 is pretty abysmal. So far, the promoted characters, Rydian, Max, and Kojiro, and Audai are not that good. And Eric. None of the promoted characters have outclassed any of the others. Any of the starting lineup. So this might be an uninteresting thing. But we still have our mages, and usually mages are the big deciders in a lot of this. So, speaking of mages, I guess now we can go to them. Let's take a look at Howl. Here. Or Howl. This is spelled with an A. But Howl. Now, Howl, his HP jettisoned up to 57. MP is 53. Attack 41. Defense 46. Agility 29. And movement 5. Interesting. Now, his spell lineup, we're going to have to actually open him up. So this is the Howl from Shining Force 2, by the way, for those of you wondering. He has Blaze level 4, Freeze level 4, and Attack. He never learned Attack level 1, which is fine. He actually never learned a 4th spell, but he mastered 2 of the elementals, Blaze and Freeze. How one would feel about that is kind of up in the air. I don't think that there's necessarily... it's actually the casters in this game is the most interesting layout of casting balance that I've seen, to the point where these 2 casters could be heavily balanced. Now, the other thing I didn't do, and I don't know if I did it or not, is his competitor. She has the power stick. Alright. So that's an interesting thing, because his MP is really high. Let's look at Minto, the fresh maker. She's the other caster. So her HP is 41. MP is 39. That's really low. Her attack is 39. Defense is 38. Or no, I'm sorry, 38 for attack. And then 43 for defense. Agility 24. Movement 5. Her spell lineup is a bit more versatile. Not versatile, but different. She has Freeze level 3, Slow level 2, Bolt level 4, and Dissolve level 2, which I never use that much anyway. Slow is negligible as well. So here's the breakdown that I'm noticing right away that is very relevant statistically. Howl has higher casting potential than Minto. When you get into the level 4 spells, they tend to cost around 20 MP, no matter what level you're casting. I think with Blaze being 4 being a little cheaper. But I believe Bolt level 2s for sure, or 4 is 20 MP. I think Howl's is a little cheaper. And I could be wrong on that. I'd have to go into battle and double check. But looking at this, you have to really ask yourself about the Bolt. Now, there is something that needs to be explained about Bolt in Shining Force Final Conflict that isn't as relevant in other Shining games. There are 5 characters with Bolt 4 potential, I believe. Or at least high levels of Bolt casting. Okay, high levels of Bolt casting. And she kind of gets thrown in the mix there because of that. So, statistically, she's lower in HP, which is bad. She is 16 points lower. Now, 39 to 53 MP-wise, that's 14 points in MP. That's a major casting of a spell lower. Attack is negligible. I mean, it's 38 to 41, but we don't care about wizard attacks. Howl has more defense and the higher HP. He has 3 more defense than Minto, so that's relevant. His agility is 5 points higher, so his turn comes up earlier and more frequently. With that said, the other thing is that Howl has only 3 spells, but all 3 of those spells are dramatically useful. And I do not think that Mintos magic overall is that useful. I don't really put a lot of value into Soul. For those of you who know me, and that's a personal preference, you can make an argument to justify it. And slow is also somewhat negligible. It helps for lower level games, but in a max system, it just, you're all about damage output, really, for the most part. And I would say, in all fairness, that Minto really just has Bolt 4. Now, Bolt is a very powerful spell. It's got the best range of enemies to hit with, and so the damage output on it is just amazing. However, this is one of the few times I'm almost going to give the magical edge to a non-Bolt caster. And the reason why is because Howl has the MP load to continuously fling out spells. The other thing is that there are 4 other characters that can fling Bolt around like it's nobody's business. And I believe and Ian's one of them. We haven't gotten to the other 2 yet, but you probably have figured out who it is already. But that's my point, is that unlike earlier Shining games where there was really just the one caster who used Bolt plus the hero, you have a lot of Bolt casters now. And some of them have, and the other Bolt casters have better survivability. You don't have anyone else in the game that can cast Fire level 4 and Ice level 4. So that's a big discrepancy. And when you look at her MP at 39 and you look at Ian's at 31, and I'll just tell you who the other Bolt casters are. It's Sasuke and Ruberin. So if you have Ian and Sasuke in the party, you can get your big Bolt multi-hit Bolt spells out there. You know, you can do one with Ian, and Bolt 3 is like 20 MP as well. It's just the AoE, whereas Bolt 4 is a single target that does massive damage. And Ruberin has Raijin 2? Raijin 4. So, and then that's Bolt 4. Same with Suzuki. So they both have that. They just don't have the MP. So, theoretically, you might be better off, to a degree, using Ruberin. I'm not too big on Suzuki, but you're better off using Ruberin in place of Minto, because when Ruberin's not using Bolt or Raijin, his regular attack is massive. I don't mean to compare the wizards to the ninjas, but we're talking about the versatility of the Bolt spells. The other thing too is Max has Bolt up to level 3 with the same MP as Ian, so there's better survivability amongst the Bolt casters. And that's really the only thing that made Minto stand out. Now, the other thing that made Minto stand out, however, earlier on, is she was one of the earliest characters to get Bolt. She came with Bolt, level 1. I just think as the game went on, her versatility just began to nosedive, and that's really just a shame. So I'm giving it to Howl. Howl has 3 massively useful abilities. Blaze, Freeze level 4, and Attack level 1. And so when he's low on MP and doesn't use a single target Blaze and Freeze spells, he can beef up an offensive character, and if you have characters with 90 attack and 88 attack running around, that's you know, boosting them up is just going to make them devastating to anything that they hit. And on top of that, Freeze 4 has the range to reach, and Freeze 3 and 4 have that long range ability to reach out and grab enemies from a great distance. It's just not as many enemies grabbed by the spell. And the other thing too is a lot of endgame enemies, red dragons, demons, the flame hydras are all fire elemental enemies, and they seem to take more damage from freeze than they do bolt, and I'll double check that. And if it comes up, if you guys know more about that, I haven't tested that. I wasn't really paying that close attention, but it does validate his freeze offensive. And the fact that he can do freeze spells more frequently because they're cheaper. They're just, you know, freeze 3, I believe, and freeze 2 are cheaper than bolt 2 and bolt 3. And the enemies don't seem to me group up enough in this game to effectively use bolt 3 and 2 as often. Whereas in Shining Force 2 and 1 and some of the guidance, the bolt spell ultimately does carry more weight because of how it's utilized. So there's a lot of discrepancy. I'm just giving you guys my opinion on the outline, but I actually think Howl is the better wizard. Alright, so yeah, that had a lot of explanation go into it. I do apologize, but we really needed to double check a lot of this. Alright, so we'll just look at Sonnet, and then we'll discuss whether or not she's that viable. But she actually is, if you're a very strategic player. She's very useful in that regard. Beyond that, I would say if you're not a very, you know, not that you're not good at tactics, but if you're not good with, if you don't want that a character with that massive attack reach, then you really don't need Sonnet. But because she has that long range, it's actually quite nice to have her in there. There's really no character to actually compare her to. There's no other long range character outside the casters, so she's kind of in her own category. The closest is the ninjas, and it's just not fair at all. Maybe compare Sonnet to Suzuki would be interesting, but beyond that, it's just not fair and really not that relevant. So I guess we'll do that. We'll compare Sonnet to Suzuki because we got to compare Ruberin to Suzuki anyway. So, you know, Sonnet 62 HP, so that's actually a pretty good amount of HP for a character who's a back row character. 74 attack, so rather standard attack. It says it's equivalent to, it's actually higher than Mead. No, it's not. It is not higher than Mead. Well, wait a minute. It's on par with Sylvia. So she does as much damage as Sylvia does. She also has 1 HP less, so if you want to compare having 2 knights in there, this is actually interesting. Actually, now that I'm looking at this is pretty interesting. Her defense is kind of low though at 42. Whereas Mead's defense is 52 and Sylvia's is 49. I'm actually now comparing them to the knights. Her agility is 28, so she's actually faster than Mead and Sylvia. Only slightly faster than that. And she has 6 movement. So, pretty good movement for this character. What I would say is that if you want... No, let's put in Suzuki now. Let's look at Suzuki first. Or Suzuki. Alright, so 49 HP, 30 MP, 69 attack, 37 defense, 22 agility, and 5 movement. So, because Suzuki has a ranged attack, actually their attack is... Nope. Sonnet's attack is higher than Suzuki's. Suzuki! Her defense is a lot better than Suzuki. Her agility is 6 points higher as well, and she has 1 better movement, and her HP is higher. So she actually beats Suzuki out in every category. The only difference is Suzuki has magic, and he comes with Rajan 4. Again, that's 1 category, and he can only cast Rajan 4 once. Same with Bolt 3. He could cast Bolt 2 twice with 30 MP, so think of it that way. Or Rajan 2, he can cast that twice with 30 MP. That's actually pretty legitimately good, but his survivability is really bad. Whereas Sonnet, every attack she does is from a long range. And again, if we compare Suzuki to Ruberin, I'm going to just tell you right now, Ruberin's going to decimate Suzuki statistically. So let's go into that. let's go into Ruberin, whose HP is 59, only 3 points lower than Sonnet. He has a little less MP, which could hurt him a little bit, but he's got 90 frickin' attack, 54 defense, 29 agility, and the 5 movement. So, Suzuki is completely and utterly outclassed by Ruberin in every way, shape, and form. He's also outclasses Sonnet, except in HP, only by 3 points. His attack is better, oh my god, his attack is 16 points better than Sonnet. His defense is 8 points better than Sonnet. His agility is 1 better, and his movement is 1 slower. So, Sonnet gets second place, I think, for as far as ranged melee attackers go. Even really outclassing Sylvia and Mead. Not really outclassing them, but definitely on par with them. And the reason I would say she outclasses Mead and Sylvia because they both have Valkyrie, right? Valkyrie spears. She outclasses the two of them because she can attack from further away, and her defense isn't that far off from theirs, and her HP is rather high. So, not saying that she's better than Mead or Sylvia in any way, shape, or form, but that reach really gives her an edge over the two of them offensively. Ruberin is just a freaking beast. He outdamages pretty much every character. We'll compare him to Ian with the Chaos Breaker, but he's a freaking beast. Kaijin and Keton level 4, same as Suzuki, but the MP is only 3 less than Suzuki, but he's got 59 HP. That's 10 points higher than Suzuki, and his defense is 54, which Suzuki's is only 37. He is easily the best ninja in the game, possibly one of the best characters. Whereas Suzuki just falls behind in everything. That's another promoted character who failed. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 promoted characters. 7, because we're counting Odd Eye as well. Just not really putting out the stats. So that's a neat observation. But yeah, Suzuki is, Ruberin is probably the best ninja and ranged character overall, by far. So that is a win for him, and Sonnet is a close second, as far as I'm concerned. All right, so we've done them. Now we need to do our Master Monks and Cynthia. Now, again, Cynthia, I gave her the edge. I'm giving her the Protect Staff. Now, the reason I'm giving that to her is she does not have a direct parallel to compare her to. So the reason, what I'm saying is that we know she has low HP. She's the best candidate for the Protect Staff, and her counterparts, Knuckles and Morton, do not have access to that staff. So, debate with me how much you think that that's not fair. I don't care. I think that it's fine. I actually think that it's quite good, and it's quite fair deal. It actually balances her out a little bit more. Because she has no direct competition in her class. There's no other priest class. She was promoted to a priest, whereas she was a healer first, so I guess they didn't use Vicar in this one like they did in others. Whatever. So yeah, it's debatable, whereas Knuckles is a Master Monk, and there's some discrepancy there. But it brings the healers overall a lot closer. So let's take a look at Morton, since he's kind of the dark horse possibly in this lineup. So let's do them up here. Morton has 44 HP, 39 MP, 73 attack, 41 defense, 24 agility, and 5 movement. Okay. What spells does he come with? Surprisingly, not an okay lineup, but not the best. He comes with Heal 4, Quick 2, Blast 4, which is actually not bad, and then Muddle 2, which is probably the worst thing in here. We got Knuckles next. So let's take a look at Knuckles, who came with us since the beginning of the game. Knuckles is 54 HP versus Morton's, I think it was, 44? Yeah, so 53. Oh shoot, I'm writing, no, 30 MP. 30 MP. His attack is 72. Defense is 53. Agility 31. Movement 5. And his spell layout is Heal 4. Detox 2. Sleep 1. And Dispel 1. Again, Sleep and Dispel are very hit and miss. So I'm going to give them each a half a point, because they're actually useful. Muddle never seems to ever work. Sleep actually works once in a while, and so does Dispel. So I'm giving them half a point of value. Detox. Let's talk about Detox. He's the only healer that actually has Detox, but it's not something that I hold in high regard, because by end game, characters are not being poisoned very much. Same with the beginning of the game. The poison mostly kicked in midway through the game during the worm and harpy encounters, but then they kind of faded away. So really you're banking on his stats here. So let's compare Knuckles and Morton. Knuckles has 10 HP higher than Morton. Morton has 9 MP higher than Knuckles, which is actually relevant because that's 3 more healing level 1 spells. The attack is negligible between the two. Knuckles has 53 defense. Now this is going to combine with his high HP, making him a more versatile frontline fighter. And his Knuckles' agility is 31 versus Morton's 24. So statistically, Knuckles is the better healer. However, spell layout, I'm giving the win to Morton. And the reason why is because he has Blast 3 and 4. He can AoE damage and single target blast for good damage that might circumsede Knuckles' offensive abilities a little bit. Quick 2 is a very, very powerful spell. For those of you wondering, it's the same power as Boost in Shining Force 2. It's a 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 square target that raises agility and defense. So that's a really good spell, and he has heal level 4, which they tie at. I don't think Detox carries any weight to Quick. Level 2 Quick. And then, obviously, the 2 half points I gave to Sleep and Dispel, they get trumped by Blast. So, when I've always been very adamant, when characters are close statistically, and they have magic, I usually give the benefit to the magic loadout. Okay, but this is where I have some issues with that too, is because Knuckles' stats that are higher than Morton's are significantly higher. So this is one where they're kind of tied. One for magic versatility, and the other for survivability and usefulness in combat. Morton is more of a, he can fight, he can do damage, he doesn't take damage as well as Knuckles does, anywhere near as well as Knuckles does. Remember, there's a 12-point discrepancy between the two of them. You know, you've got this, you have this, 41 to 53, that's a 12-point defensive difference, and you have 54 to 44, 10 HP difference, which means Knuckles is going to lose his HP at a slower rate than Morton, no matter what's hitting him. And their attack is negligible. Morton's slightly higher by 1 point, but Morton has more casting potential and he has a better spell layout. So I'm going to be making an executive decision that these two are actually tied. They're tied because Morton is more useful strategically, Knuckles is more useful combatively. And it's not fair in the realm of Master Monks to kind of make that discrepancy. So Morton's magic layout is nowhere near as impressive. Or I'm sorry, Knuckles' magic selection is nowhere near as impressive as Morton's, but the discrepancy in performance of what the two can do, it's like the difference between Cray and Sig from Shining Force Gaiden 1. One of them was significantly better because of their spell layout, where the other one kind of fell behind. No, Cray fell behind, if I'm not mistaken, between the Master Monks, but they had nothing against the priest. The vicar, so it's debatable. But getting back on point, these two are so close, it's hard to give either one a victory. Now, if you want 2 healers in your party, Knuckles is not the one. Obviously, one of them is going to be Cynthia, most likely. But Morton, I would say, would be the one I would go with, because I wouldn't want my Master Monks on the front line fighting too often. I would want them to pick off weaker enemies if they didn't have any healing duty, but I want more healing magic accessibility. That's how I play the game strategically. So if I had to pick one, I'm going to give it to Morton. And I know that's a harsh toke because Knuckles is actually quite good, but I'm going to give it to Morton because of the way I play. I'm a more defensive character player, and I think that Morton's better for defensive strategies, Knuckles better for an offensive strategy. And so, and you know what, just to throw that out there, now there's actually a pre-promoted character that's not complete garbage. And he's not. All these other ones, and even Minto is not even that bad, but, you know, these other ones are pretty terrible in the grand scheme. Unless I'm missing something, they're not that good. Alright, so I'm going to give it to Morton. For me personally, but I do see people liking Knuckles just as much. So now let's compare them to who I think's the best healer all around, and that's Cynthia. And actually, I think we've covered everybody after that. Cynthia's HP is 31, MP 36, attack 60, defense 58, agility 24, and movement 5. Let's take a look at her loadout. So you might be sitting there going, she's not that good statistically, she's good magically. Aura's like worth 3 points just because Aura's that awesome. She has heal level 4, she has blast level 4, which makes that very useful. She has muddle level 2, which is actually better than Knuckles' muddle. So I'm going to give it that 1 point, because that's a very big AoE effect area of effect. And she has Aura level 4, which is a full heal for the party. Heal 4 is great. All the healers have heal level 4. She has blast level 4, so there's a point in that. She has muddle level 2, which gives like a point for that spell in its entirety. And she has Aura level 4, which I give fucking 3 points to. Aura's level 1 and 2 are incredible. 3 if you've saved up that much MP and you can get your characters close enough, just as good. And Aura level 4 is like having a rain of heal. You know, a healing rain. It's the best healing spell in the game. It heals all HP to all characters in one turn. You can't argue that. Now, what you can argue is her HP is abysmally low. So that's a big minus. Her MP is actually 36 compared to Morton's 39. Not too bad. Only 3 points away from Morton, so that's nominal. That's one healing spell difference. Her attack is 60 with the Protect Staff. That's actually pretty good for a caster. It doesn't mean I would go around using her frequently to melee combat, but she could. It just wouldn't be that great. Her defense is 58, which is actually higher than Knuckles and Morton. And it's higher than Knuckles' defense by 5. So that offsets her lower HP a little bit. Her agility is 24, so she's actually slower than Knuckles. But her spell layout makes her the best healer, in my opinion. Don't like that. Don't like that. You don't agree with that? Come on, bro, fight me. But if I took Cynthia Morton or Cynthia Knuckles, you can't go wrong with that healer loadout. So, yeah, I think that covers everybody. I think we covered every character. So the question is, who should you have in your party? Who's the best? Oh, we were gonna do one other comparison, and that was to equip the Chaos Breaker on Ian and compare him to Rubrun with the Chaos. No, Rubrun is still stronger. Rubrun has 10 damage more than Ian does. So, but that's still, you know, 80 versus 90. Andy has better defense, but Ian has higher HP. And he has more MP, but only slightly, so that's not a big deal. 27 agility versus 29, so that's, yeah. They're very close, but Rubrun is the bigger damage dealer. Sorry, I'm moving the mic. Rubrun's still the bigger damage dealer. And like I said, so who's the best part? What is the best party layout? I would say that you don't need... Let's swap here. I would go with Morton over Knuckles if I'm going to have only 2 healers. And for this game, there's nothing wrong with, say, taking a 3rd healer along. There's nothing wrong with that. But I like having more magic out in the battlefield. And in all fairness, Minto has magical versatility. She has 9 more MP than Suzuki, right? So with that said, is I could have her use a freeze spell to offset the 19 MP that she has. Same with Howl. Though you could say this, but then I have 10 MP with Suzuki. But Minto, I think, would do a little better. So really, it's... And then again, you got to level Suzuki up all this way. You get... Actually, these three... This setup of characters, excluding Knuckles, is pretty much the setup you would have when you first play the game. So remove Knuckles... I removed Knuckles from my party. But let's just say if I put Knuckles back in, for those of you who like Knuckles, I will point this out really quick. This is actually the order you collect all the characters in. And I believe Minto is the first promoted character. She's the first or the second. So, with that said, this is one of the few times you guys have witnessed me say the starting party is actually the best. Most of these characters in the melee range outclass pretty much everybody in the promoted area here. So, like I said, you could swap Morton in for Knuckles if you wanted to. Or you could go with the 3 healers if you really wanted to. There's nothing wrong with that either. And I would take out, if you do that, I would take out Minto. And Minto might be substituted by Suzuki if you get Suzuki to level 20. Again, these things are very, very kind of open interpretation. But you've seen my stats. If you want to try out at home and see if you can get the same kind of stats that I've got, more power to you. Next analysis that I have planned is Shining Force 2. Now, I am going to set up some ground rules about how we're going to do Shining Force 2. I actually have some of them written down here. And what it is that we have to somehow evenly distribute leveling. And this is a study... Shining Force 2 might be the biggest study that I do, because it would take multiple playthroughs to actually see where things are. And for what it's worth, I would probably need a lot of the community's help for that, because I'm going to do the same deal. I'm going to get everybody to a specific level. But in Shining Force 2, the max level is 40 before promotion, before you stop getting benefits. But the pre-promoted characters do not get 40 levels of leveling. So I have a system in place to offset this. And the system that I'm thinking is to take Creed's Mansion heroes, the characters you get at Creed's Mansion, and leveling them, getting every character up to the highest level of the Creed characters, which I think is 23, 24, somewhere in there, and using that as my baseline. And the reason why is because there is no character higher than those levels. Because what ends up happening is if you max out the unpromoted characters to level 40, you run into a serious problem. And that serious problem is that you do not get accurate stat growths because all of your base characters are insanely powerful. So I'm thinking what's best for all of us is to do equal levels promoted and unpromoted to where we get the Creed characters involved. So I think, like I said, I think they come in somewhere between level 23 and 25. They come in somewhere at that level. We're going to take the highest level of the Creed characters and make that the baseline, that every character gets promoted at that level, and then we go from there. And then we compare Road and all of them. Now, I'm going to do a vanilla run. So a vanilla run meaning I will use no promotion items. So no Centaurs, no Pegasus, or I'm sorry, no Pegasus Knights, we're not going to make Kizane a sorcerer right away. There's a lot of things I'm going to have to do in the study. And then we need to find out, well, who makes the best sorcerer? These are very good debates. These are very good discussions that I have to collect data of multiple playthroughs for. And so I'm going to make a video for the channel, for YouTube, and I won't do it here because I'm already explaining it here. But I'm going to make a YouTube video explaining the parameters in which I am going to handle promotions, see what the community thinks about this, how I'm going to do it. I'm probably going to have to do 3 or 4 playthroughs to collect data for the specialty classes. Barons, the Baron, who's the best Baron, who's the best Pegasus Knight, who's the best Sorcerer, who's the best Master Monk. These are all things, I think those are the 4. And who's the best Brass Gunner. So there's 5. Jeezum Crow. So I'm going to have to collect a lot of data. And I'm not going to be able to I'm not going to live stream me getting all that data. I will live stream the vanilla study of no promotion items, and then for the characters who have the specialty classes, we will do something slightly kind of avant-garde with them. We'll compare them to their wizard. Like, we'll compare this, you know, our one sorcerer that we get in the vanilla game to the other sorcerers, or to the other wizards, but I will reiterate that we're going to study those separately and get all the data. And really, I think it's, what is it? It's 3 characters per brass, how many centaurs are there? There's Chester, there's Chester, Rick, Eric, and, well, Higgins joins, but I believe he's already promoted. So I think there's 3. Archers, there's Julia and, or Janet, rather, and Elric. I don't remember if May can use the silver tank or not. I think she can. So if she could, that would be 3 right there. Barons would be Jaha, Randolph. I don't think there's another gladiator that comes pre-promoted. That doesn't come promoted, so that one's its own thing. So there's really only the 2 gladiators that you would have to make into barons. And we'll double check all that, but I'm pretty sure that that's correct. And then sorcerers would be Kezin and shoot, what's his name? Tyrion. And then you have the master monks, which would be Sarah and Karna. So I would have to do minimum 2 to 3 playthroughs, and I will gather and compile all of that information, and I will clip that information for us to do our analyzing, and then I will splice the video to kind of show what I get through those playthroughs of Shining Force 2. But yeah, I've got my work cut out for me. Unfortunately, I got to play through Shining Force 2 fucking, what am I thinking, 5 times to do this properly? Yeah, this is not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun. It'll be fun, but it'll be a lot of Shining Force 2, so it'll be quite some time before I get that study out. So for those of you that are going to wait for that, for the Shining Force 2 level study, please be patient with me, as that's going to take a lot of time. Though I will upload the vanilla one as soon as possible, with the level 20-ish comparisons, like 23, 24 comparison, and I'll also ensure that we get a level 20, whatever. It'll be over level 20 because I want to use the same amount of levels, unpromoted and then promoted, so we get somewhat accurate. But it would be a study that I have to do many, many times, and I am going to ask the community to help me. Do a vanilla study. Don't do the crazy one where I'm going to do, you know, who's the best sorcerer, who's the best monk, and who's the best whatever, you know. I'll do that one, because that one's going to be the hardest data to gather, unless you guys want to help with that too, which would be great to gather even more info. But ultimately, the vanilla one is probably the most accessible for getting a lot of people's help on. So anyway, thank you guys for stopping by. I am your host, the RPG Guy, and what we'll have going on for the rest of this, for the coming up stream-wise, is we'll get back to what we were working on. We'll get back to the normal streaming period as of next week. This week, we're just getting back from Strategicon. I am the chairman from the Chairman of the Board show are just getting back, and Hobo Headcrab is eagerly waiting to do more Hobo plays. So we will be back to our usual schedule of gaming, which is what is it called? Shadow Hearts Covenant on the RPG Guy show, and Hobo Headcrab is still doing Grandia too. So anyway, thank you guys for stopping by. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks, Gil, for coming by. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Please take a moment to check out more episodes from the RPG Guy, Tuesday Night Team Up, and more. And please subscribe. Always support the channels you enjoy watching, and while you're at it, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. Keep on gaming hard. See you next time.